Welcome, welcome. Mongoose live on a beautiful Tuesday night. Last moment, but very privileged opportunity tonight to talk to none other than Aden Thao. Welcome those who are viewing today. As always, be friendly, say hi. You guys know how this works. We are just going to have a nice little conversation with Aden. And Aden, as always, is very open to answering questions and sharing with us his experience. It's so nice to be Hmong American or Hmong in general because the beauty of our community is that we're so small, but there's such great potential in here. Aden being one of the individuals, and many other up and coming musicians, artists, athletes, professionals. And the beautiful thing is, you know, you can make a lot of the community small, so everyone potentially can know everyone fairly easy. If you're here, you're probably intentionally here. Welcome, stay, be friendly. As always, say hi that we know you're here. And my name is Long with Hmongoose Live. If you like what I'm doing, if you want to support my channel and my growth, then please do like and share. Take one moment if you're watching right now and just share this on your social media. The link that you push to get here, hit the little share button and share it on your page so that more people can join and get to know Aden. Tonight very much is a groundbreaking night because we're talking to Aden, and it's groundbreaking because not only is Aden the first Hmong professional motorcycle racer, on top of that, he's actually now the very first Hmong American motorcycle racer to be on the podium of MotoAmerica, which is the highest level of racing in the United States. So it's a very groundbreaking night, and I welcome them and welcome you to join me tonight. We're going to have a lot of great discussions. Those who don't know, if those who have seen the footage may have seen the really exciting footage. Aden took second place at MotoAmerica Atlanta, and there was a very interesting crash at the end, and Aden came in second place. Without further ado, let's welcome Aden and Team Aden here. And if you watched our last live session, you know that Aden and his father Lo, they go hand in hand. They pretty much, if you're on the track and you see Aden, then you know Lo's not far behind. So let's go ahead and welcome them. Hey guys, how are you?
Hey Long, how you doing?
I'm doing very good. Thank you again for joining me. 頭一次就嗰啲帳篷嚟到說Aden 就是為啲古堡的應單的就你都說俾那你有咪搞啦，so應單就有maybe 有係應單幫應單咪搞時管真係分到就有咪搞的話 Aden 就分到啲係路咪搞到，so do excuse, we're going to do a little bit of Monglish as appropriate. Maybe Lo will do a lot of the Hmong, but for the most part, I'll do maybe a little bit, and Aden probably will do maybe a little bit too. But for the most part, English, because I think we have some American English speaking only viewers. Welcome, guys! Congratulations on MotoAmerica Atlanta. You took second place. Groundbreaking, like I said. I met. First Hmong person on MotoAmerica podium. How does it feel?
It definitely feels good. Seeing a lot of the support after the weekend was over from all the fans and all the people on social media. It feels good to know that there was a lot of people watching me race out there as well. So
Yeah, I made a quick post right afterwards, and yeah, a lot of Hmong people said congratulations and Hmong Din Mikao. Okay, very very exciting time. Michelle says thank you, Michelle, for liking and sharing. If you haven't already, do like and share. Michelle says hi, Long. Excited for this talk. I'm very excited for this talk. It's always exciting to talk to Aden and Lo because I don't really know anything about cycling, but so basically anything I know from cycling is attributed to either Lo or Aden. That's all I know. So I want to personally thank you guys. We got other viewers. Venom Chang he's a friend. He's actually from Colorado. So right now it's a little later. So we got viewers from Colorado. We have my Shia Moore says hi. And so very exciting. Not your first time being to Atlanta. Describe Atlanta to us. For those who don't know, I think there were Hmong people there too. Correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. What was that Atlanta like?
It wasn't my first time at Atlanta.
Hmm.
I believe it was our third time, right, Dad, at Atlanta. And yeah, there was we did have some Hmong fans that came out and
Nice.
supported me as well. So it was great seeing them. Also had family over there on the East Coast as well. That also made a drive out to come out and support and watch the races as well. Atlanta, it's definitely a very tricky and technical track.
Yeah.
If you watch the footage, there's a lot of up and downs at that track, and it's not like Bunt Willow where it's nice and flat. Um, oh yeah, you got the picture of down at 10A, um, on the at the end of the back straight, it's a very fast downhill break zone. Yep, right there down into 10A after a very long straight. So I believe we're doing 120, 130 miles per hour down a back straight, breaking into 10A and 10B right there, and it's very fast, and it's a very hard braking zone. And I think we'll get more into that in a little bit. But Atlanta is probably one of my favorite tracks out of the MotoAmerica, you know,
Hmm.
MotoAmerica tracks that we travel to.
So Lo, you were there, but you were sitting in the paddock, which is right around this side. I don't know if people can see this, but the paddock is right around this area. Is that right around here, right?
Yep.
Where the pit is.
Right.
Um, what was your experience like in the being in the paddock watching Aden? You probably see him a lot.
Well, first of all, before I get into the discussion, I want to thank you,
Sure.
on yourself and your channel, Mongoose, for promoting all of the great artists, not just motorcycle racing, but many more athletic, um, upcoming stars into the community. And a lot of the great artists in music industry that you have promoted and you have interviewed them. So you have a very great channel here that it could be a very eye openers to not just here in the United States but worldwide, especially in our Asian community, and especially the Hmong people, because they are following your channel, and they also are very interesting in following Aden in every step of what he does in his motorcycle racing world. But um, uh, besides that, you did a wonderful job on your channel and yourself
Yeah.
for putting all of this stuff. So we
It
want to thank you, and
Yeah,
uh,
it's a pleasure
and
to film you guys because like Lipatak Wahai, the Hmong community is so small. We're not small, but we're not huge either. But we're small enough such that we can communicate fairly well. And I think especially in the world of cycling, where it's not the biggest sport in the U.S., but it's a really exciting sport, and there's a lot of growth to happen in it. And like I tell the viewers, if you're willing to walk the journey with me, then if you're willing to learn with me, and Aden and Lo are willing to teach, then whoever wants to learn, you're more than welcome to join. And there's so much to learn. And I've interviewed anything from musicians and artists, and I think from here on out, I don't know, we'll interview more Hmong athletes because everyone's so open. So
yep, good, yep. Thank you so much.
Aiden, Venom has some questions for you. He says, for Aiden, what's the fastest you've ever ridden? How does it feel? And is it scary being so low on turns?
The fastest I ever gone on a motorcycle, I believe it was 187 miles per hour
Wow.
on a BMW S1000. Um, a lot of people, they question the same thing Venom's asking too, like, oh, is it scary going that fast? It's a yes and no. It does get a little nerve wracking, but that's the sport that we do. Going that fast, 120, 150, 180, 200 miles per hour down a straight, it doesn't really feel like much because the motorcycle is designed to go that fast, and we have our helmets on, we have our gear on, so it's nothing like you would expect it to feel like. There's not that much. There is wind hitting you, of course, because you're going so fast, but our gear doesn't feel like there's that much wind hitting you. And when you're in the tuck and you're behind the windscreen, the bubble, it's nice and smooth and flat, and it just you look down at your speedometer and holy crap, I'm going 150 plus miles per hour, and you don't even realize it.
I think that going slower
Mm.
on a motorcycle is more scarier than
Oh.
going fast, because you really know how to handle the bike when they're in the slow speed, because they call the stalling speed. The bike is gonna fall because that bike weighs like 400 pounds. So the faster you go, is the more maneuver that you will have on the bike. Besides going slow, if you're riding very slow on the paddock, 5 and 10 miles per hour, you could just drop the bike anytime.
Yeah, it's like everyone knows how to ride a bicycle. It's the same thing as a bicycle. When you're going very slow on a bicycle, it has there's not enough force, there's not enough speed, so you're gonna tip over. But the second you start riding a little faster on a bicycle, or if anyone out there who has ever rode on a bicycle downhill and you're picking up speed, you can let go of the handlebars and the bike will just go straight. Same thing with motorcycles. And is it scary being low? No, it's not scary at all. The motorcycle, it glides, through the corners when you're hanging off the bike. It's like it's nothing like I could really explain. When you're going through the turns, and when you're super low on the ground, when your knees dragging, when your elbow is dragging, it doesn't really feel like much. It just feels like the motorcycle is gliding over the pavement through the turns.
Um, you're making that sound really easy. I don't think it is. I read somewhere that the average person, not the non-professional person like me, is generally comfortable leaning about 20 degrees. But I was reading somewhere that in MotoGP and the professional rides, they lean up to like 65 degrees,
Yeah.
which is pretty scary. 65 is you're 30 degrees from hitting the ground. And I think what you kind of mentioned it. It's not that it's partially not scary for you. You mentioned it. It's because you've fallen,
Mhm.
and you mentioned your gear because when you're well geared, then you don't really your injuries are significantly diminished. That's fair to say.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Um, let's get to the bulk of what we're here to discuss. Let's talk about Atlanta. So, for those who were viewing on Friday, I interviewed you, and that was right after qualifying. And so on qualifying, you were placed in P5,
Yeah.
correct? Which, for those who don't, P5 is short for position five. Can you explain to us what qualifying is?
So every racer before the race weekend. So as we're talking about, this was Friday. Um, every rider has to do their qualifying sessions. Qualifying is pretty much where the riders are placed on the grid for the start of the race. So if you watch our races, you will watch how we line up on the racetrack before we're let out, before we could actually do the race. So that's what qualifying is to for us to get our positions on the grid for our races. Qualifying went fairly well. I believe we had a mechanical, right, Dad? A
Yeah,
mechanical.
actually, to rephrase of what the qualifying is, to make them understand more, is um, in motorcycle racing. Before the race, they gotta do the qualifying. So a lot of time during the qualifying, it eventually is not a race, but actually you have to uh, push the hardest.
Mm.
It's more like racing. It's more like you're actually racing because you're trying to be the fastest rider uh, to be on the first grid position in the front during the race.
And so they're positioning you, from what I understand, not based on your placement, but they're positioning you based on your time, essentially.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, they're based on all of those riders. They will give you only 30 minutes
Hmm.
for all the riders to go out there and do the best. Whoever run the fastest time, they will get the front position during the race. So that's what they base the race position on the qualifying. So during the qualifying, a lot of people is gonna go, "Hey, that's not a race." But why do people crash left and right?
Yeah.
But they they are pushing to the fullest and to the max to make the uh, fastest time and beat everybody's time so they could be on the first grid position during the race. So yeah, people don't understand that. So people is gonna go, "Hey, why do you crash?" I mean, it's not a race, but no, the qualifying it's more than a race
It'll
because
determine where you start the race.
right, right,
Okay, interesting.
yeah,
And the beautiful and sad thing about your qualifying is that you qualified to be in fifth place, meaning that you're the fifth fastest. But the sad part was that you only raced 5 laps. I can only imagine if you were able to do the full, like, what, 15.
Yeah.
You I would imagine you could potentially be first or second.
Yeah. So like you mentioned, we only was able to do 4 or 5 laps before we had
Hmm.
mechanical with our motorcycle. So we went out there, and I believe we were holding P1, P2 for the first few laps. So we were the
Wow.
fastest. We were the fastest rider out there for the beginning of this session.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, we had a mechanical issue with my exhaust, and
Hmm.
I had to come back in and forfeit the qualifying. But we ran such a great time in the beginning of the qualifying session already that we didn't fall back too many positions. Um, we only fell back 3 spots by the time the qualifying session was over. So yeah, it sucks. Unfortunately, we weren't able to finish the qualifying session for Friday, but it still put us in a great spot for the race.
There
yep.
you go.
So during that qualifying, um, first Aiden be able to do like five put into 5 lap, but before um, uh, the 5 lap that Aiden does, um, he's in first and second uh,
Hmm.
position as the fastest rider out there, but due to his exhaust, suddenly just the bracket just break off, and
Yeah.
then Aiden just have to come back, and then we all of the crew we went out there and we trying to do what we can to trying to hold up the exhaust, and then now the exhaust start burning all of his fairings, and it because the exhaust was so hot and it's broken, so we're trying to find some steel metals to try to tie up and whatever we can do uh, to make him finish the qualifying. But then eventually, by the time when we would have uh, find something like the steel metal cables to trying to hold it up, then the time is over. But he did well. He's on P5, and
Yeah.
then we just take that. It's not a problem. We just have to do what we can, and then during the next day, it's an actual race. So now we have another problem, which
Yeah.
we didn't know. So during the race, he was stationed up for the race already.
So this is race one.
Yes, it's
Okay.
race one.
So this is Saturday. For those who just arrived, I'm live with Aden and Aden's dad Lo, who are both coming from MotoAmerica. Um, Everyone that's here is very intentionally here. I think there's some people here that just want to see Aden. Those people will kind of come and go, but I think the people that stay Aden are the people that want the inside information. It's a real privilege to have them here. So if you're here, say hi. Mary's here. Mary says hi. Mary, I was there actually, from my understanding, and so Mary's from the area. But everyone that's here, I welcome you. If you're here for inside information, then Aden and Lo are here to share, and they're getting a first person talk about Atlanta. Sorry, so we're talking about race one.
Hi, Mary. Thank you for coming by. We
Aiden,
all miss you
at that
too.
so on at race one, it ultimately was your clutch that went out.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
correct.
So this was during the warm up lap, or was it actually race one already?
This was during the warm up lap.
Yeah.
So what we were talking about before was Friday's qualifying. So
Mm-hmm.
this is the next day. So we
Yeah.
ran into another mechanical issue the next day, unfortunately. Saturday's race one, on the warm up lap, I had an issue with the clutch. I unfortunately I stalled my bike because the clutch wasn't grabbing, and then the second I stalled my motorcycle, I knew there was something wrong with the motorcycle, but it's too late to come back and communicate with my team that there's something wrong with the bike. So I went around the track with the group, and then we all staged up on the starting grid, and then the race started. When the race started, they threw the flag. I ran into some more mechanical issues with the bike, and the bike just wouldn't carry its speed with the leading pack. And then eventually, I think we were at turn 8 on the back straight of the track. That's when my clutch just completely gave out and burnt out. So I had to forfeit the race. I don't believe I didn't make one lap around the track before I had to forfeit.
Hmm. Okay, very interesting. I
Yeah.
thought
So,
I
so
thought I had
actually,
footage of that, but maybe I didn't. So clutch brakes. What people don't realize is because you're a Kawasaki sponsored rider, then you're actually assigned a, I guess, would you call it mechanic or engineer?
uh, it's an engineer.
Engineer. So his name is Chris, correct?
Yes, Chris and Darren.
Chris and Darren. So they're tasked with, then I guess what happens? They have to rebuild your clutch.
Yeah, because during that time, you know, we asked the mechanic and engineering crew for Aden. All he do was being the riders. So
Yeah.
it's our obligations and our jobs to get the bike well prepared for the riders to just hop on and go. But then we, that's mechanical internal, just like driving a car. So, I mean, you don't really know when the
Mm,
clutch is gonna shut down, and
mm,
especially in Atlanta raceway, uh, it's not a flat track, so it has high elevation. It goes up and it goes down. So just like cars, if your car is running out of clutch, and if it's a stick shift car, of course, I mean you trying to climb up. Suddenly, the car's not climbing no more. It was just making all funny noise,
mm,
and then the RPM will just go up and down, up and down. It's not
mm,
going nowhere. But that happens the same way to Aiden's bike during
mm,
the actual first race. So he won't be able to finish it because he climbs up, and then the clutch can't hold the bike no more. So
mm,
he just have to surrender the first race, and then that night, um, the team and us, we have to open up the engine, and we have to take out the clutch, and we have to rebuild the clutch. We have a lot of parts, a lot of
mm,
spare parts, but due to racing, we need a special type of kind of clutch in
mm,
there. So we have to rebuild everything, and then we finally worked that out, and then we got the bike running like midnight, and then we got a couple hours just sleeping, and then uh, on Saturday it's racing already. So then he did well. He did well. We got the bike running well. All the clutches, everything is good. So that's why he'd be able to do the second race.
very interesting. So let's move one step back. So basically, Moto America Atlanta consists number one of qualifying, and then race one, race two, both of which race one and one. So there's a podium, right, for race one. There's a podium for race two,
Right.
but ultimately race one and two are added together in your overall points in the grand scheme of things. Correct.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Right.
So what you want to do essentially is get as many points as possible, and whoever's on the podium gets a whole lot more than anyone else. That's fair to say.
Yep.
Right. Yep.
And so Aden rides in the Junior Cup, um, and so this is the first race of the Junior Cup. The Junior Cup. That's fair to say.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So and then how many more races are there?
Uh, Actually, in the MotoAmerica series, they got 8 more rounds.
8 more rounds.
Yep, 8 more rounds. So the next one in 3 weeks will be in Virginia.
In Virginia.
It'll be in Virginia, and then it'll go from Virginia to Wisconsin, and then it'll go from Wisconsin to Washington State, and then it'll go from Washington to California, and then they'll shoot up back to Minnesota, and
Mhm.
then they will go back to New Jersey, and then they will comes to uh, Pennsylvania, and then they will come to Alabama.
Alabama.
Yeah.
So your team home or just or Satoshi or Aiden, not the number one, obviously Minnesota. He'll be in Minnesota, obviously Wisconsin,
Yep.
and then obviously California in Monterey, in Laguna Seca.
Right. Yeah. There is a lot of supporters that Aiden have there. A lot of families and fans that across the nations that they love to come and support, like many does, and we appreciate. Like this past one, there's friends from North Carolina, Georgia, South Carolina, uh, all of those states that are close by. They all come and support Aiden. So
So
um,
nice.
yeah, it's very good. But the one main thing is, um, I'm sorry to say this, but we don't control that. That's Moto America that controls that. So
Hmm.
those admission gate tickets are pretty expensive. I mean, it's like going and watch football, and
How much
just
do they run for?
if you want, it has various classes of tickets. There's
Hmm.
like VIP tickets where you could actually go in and have the access to like the hot pit. The hot pit mean where you'll get to see them staging their bike,
Hmm.
and you get to go out there and eventually um, look at their bikes and talks to all of those riders, and you
Hmm.
get the full access. And then that's like maybe $250, two hundred
Wow.
fifty dollars, and just for a pit access, it's like $75 to $80 per person.
Hmm.
So it the admission costs pretty much for a lot of the community that wants to come in and support. But eventually, if you take your whole family there, then it's going to cost you like over $1,000 to take your family there just to to support Aiden and to watch the race. So that's one thing that it's very expensive, just like going and watch a football game or a basketball game. But this past weekend they must have over 30,000 people that
Hmm.
attended uh, the race, spectators, because due to the COVID
Hmm.
in the past, they won't allow spectators, but since now the COVID restrictions have lifted, so I think people are so eager to
Yeah.
go out there and see. So I mean, it's just so packed. It's just super packed, and it's more than going to a football game for the
Yeah.
NFL. So
Well, the one thing I'll say about watching a bike in person that you can't explain is that you cannot explain how fast they're going. And that it's one thing to see it on TV, but the TV doesn't really do it justice because
right.
in reality they're moving way faster than that because the TV is just not catching how fast they are. And I can say that to see the riders ride is pretty amazing.
Right, right.
Okay, so as the standings are right now, let's see here. So that's what it is right now, and so that people understand, they take these points and they count them up,
Right.
and then it ultimately goes towards it. This table is actually interesting to read. Um, if you see on the bottom, it says first, second, third, and it's reflected up here and here at 5 is where Aiden stands, and he's 20 points from the second place. And so then they count it, and I think Aiden has there were some things that went in his favor, and then there were some things that you can control, like the exhaust and the clutch that made him. But what's really interesting is I think that had Aiden's clutch not malfunction, I think Aiden would be easy first, second. Would you agree?
Yes, yes, correct. Yeah, by looking at the point there, if the first race, if Aiden would have um, get to race on the first race, then he would be easily, right behind uh, the first riders, or eventually on first. But it's okay. We still got eight more rounds to go, so it'll be easily catch up. Yeah.
Okay.
And then
So mhm,
us as the mechanic and his team, it's up to us to try to focus very hard on all of the mistake that the team that we did, and things that we need to look out for, uh,
right.
to try to make sure that the bike is performing very well, everything for the rider. So yeah, we told Aiden, don't worry about it, don't be sad. It's our fault, not your fault. So
Right.
we will make sure that we will take care of all of these things in the next round. So yeah.
Um, Aiden, had the clutch ever broken like that on you before in a race?
Yeah, it has.
Mm,
That's something that it's not very common
mm,
to happen to riders, but it is something that does happen, every once in a while. And unfortunately, like my dad was saying earlier, that's something that we can't always control because it's something that we never really look at. That's
right.
something that we can't really look at. It's inside the motor, so that's something that that we don't really have control in. So unfortunately, it had to go out, during the race, which is unfortunate. But
Yeah.
When I watch the other footage of the other races, like the super bikes and whatnot, the this like I get the impression that in riding racing motorcycles, there's a lot that's in your control, but then there's a lot that's not in your control too. Because I'll see that this idea that you guys were talking about, racing to be as fast as you can. It looks like like some even the really high end bikes, high end riders. Sometimes right when they start their bikes, either the bike doesn't start or there's smoke everywhere, and
Right.
that seems to happen more than you would expect. And the other thing that you see that was really surprising to me is it's almost like a gamble, almost, because you want to go as fast as you can, you want to lean as far as you can, but you lean too far, then you fall. And what I was seeing, that there were some first place riders way ahead of everyone. They leaned a little too far and they fell, and that was it.
Yeah, and certain time you will see even the fastest rider, you by just looking at those videos, the fastest rider you will see, and you will think he is way ahead of everybody, and then suddenly he will crash himself off, which he's already first place. But
Yeah.
why do he crash? A lot of people go, damn, that's stupid. He nobody's catching up to him. Why do he crash himself? But being a riders, we push our riders like Aiden and them. Don't just raise those competitors of yours. You raise yourself.
Yeah.
So you never mind about them. But if you're way ahead of them, you got to beat the time, because it's each track, they have a track record.
Hmm.
So even though you're the fastest one and you're the leader, you nobody can catch up to you. but you got to race yourself. You got to break that record. So by trying to break that record, you will crash yourself. But if you're just thinking, oh, nobody's catching up to me, I could just slow down and take the podium.
Is there a is there a rule against like a rear view mirror on the bike?
That's gonna be even more distraction, and they won't even have any time. Even just like a lot of riders, if you see a lot of riders, they will tend to there's no real mirror or anything, so they will tend to trying to look back and see how far the next guy is. But then just by looking back, you already drop like thousand of a second. So you just don't look back. And if you watch a lot of the professional race, whoever that looks back, it drops them like thousand of a second, and the guys behind them will like be right on their toe just by looking back for thousand of a second. Just a blink of an eye, the guy is catching up to you. So the idea is don't look back.
Yeah, it's scary. It's a scary idea because the race, MotoAmerica, they're very transparent because they show you all the I see all Aden's speeds and everyone else's speed, but some of the riders that win first place, they don't have the fastest time. They might be a little slower, but they still win, and it's a combination. It's not just how fast you are; it's actually how you ride and how you balance everything. So it's really interesting to see all the data because MotoAmerica puts it out, and it's really cool because there's so much more to it. And then there's that one side, one aspect where you just can't control everything. You lean a little bit too far and you fall, or another, like that footage. We'll watch it right now. Yeah. Someone just messes up and they fall, and you're behind them, so you're gonna fall too.
Yep, that's right.
Let's look at that. So the end of the race, I think a lot of people were saying this was probably the most exciting race because there's a yellow flag on one of the last turns, and then people fall at the last turn, and then the race ends, and then there's a bunch of penalties. So for those who haven't seen it already, and you guys probably have seen it a lot, but are you guys okay looking at that footage?
Yeah. Let's do it.
And it'd be interesting to see, Lo, your perspective as a person watching it and hearing it, and then Aden getting your perspective as a person who watched it occur right in front of him too. Yeah. Let me pull this up really quick here. I got this off of one of the other racers' site. Let's see, it's here. And we can go back and forth on this as needed. So we'll play it, and then Aden, are you okay if we walk through the map so that people understand what's going on?
Yeah, of course.
The person who's in the best spot is Cody Wyman. He is. He was in fourth, now he's in third. He's going by Yakov.
But watch this. She's going to be on the left side going down the hill. These guys are going to get blocked out, and she's going to go to the left and try to outbreak everybody.
Ooh, they're bullying her around, and so Max Van still has the lead. Here they go. Is Yakov going to go from fourth to first? She does. She pushes the issue. She gets the line. She's a little bit wide, but she's leading. But the drive is Cody Wyman's. But here comes Gus Rodeo up the outside. Here they come down the hill. It's going to be a breaking duel into the final corner. Yakov deep on the brakes. Here she comes to the final corner. Can she hold on to it? Oh, and one rider goes down. Benny collects it. Here we go to the line. And it's going to be the person who's in the best.
Okay, so so much happens right there. I'll be honest, I probably watched this footage and different replays of it over 100 times, trying to understand.
Yeah.
Can you guys walk us through it? Well, let's Aden, first let's look at the map so that people understand, because there's so much. I think the people that don't want to understand, they probably don't care. But the people that really want to understand will probably jump to the details. And there's so much detail here, but it happens really fast. So it happens, from my understanding, Aden, it happens. So that footage actually starts right around here, right?
Yep.
So turn 8, and they're following. What do they call this? The
back straight.
Okay, so the back stretch right here, and then So what happens is, so can you walk us through? Somebody falls, right?
Right.
And so what happens when someone falls?
Okay. Let me rephrase this so they will understand more.
Sure.
That's a final lap. So they're
Uh-huh.
coming around and trying to uh, finish uh, to the finish line. So that's a final lap. So when they're coming around and uh, turn 8 and 9, then actually those other slower riders, which the camera didn't catch on them because there's so much focus on just those fast group ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, a rider already crashed. He
Mm-hmm.
already crashed himself. And
Now, is that in front of the pack or behind the pack?
no, that's behind the pack.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
okay.
that's behind the pack already. A rider already crashed himself. So now, since they're coming around, um, and then now they encounter and turn 8 and 9, which one of the riders, he's already down. So
Mm-hmm.
now, since they're coming so fast as the final round, battling and fighting each other for podium, so now the corner workers, the inspector, they already post the yellow flag. So the yellow flags mean no matter how fast you're going, when you see that yellow flags that's posting there already, so that's like no passing and slow down. So since they're all fighting for podium, so a lot of them, I believe that a lot of them don't see the yellow flags, but the
Mm-hmm.
rules of racing is if you're a professional racer, you gotta have like eyes, in front of you. You gotta have eyes in back of you, everywhere. So that's not an excuse.
So
So
hey Lo, so my question is, um, and to Aiden too. Aiden, where do you let's back up one sec here so people understand exactly what's going on. So the footage that I just showed basically just shows the racing, but if you look very closely at the footage, there's a moment where you do see
the flag.
you
Yeah.
do see the flag, and it's right around.
Yeah, you see the flag and you see a rider down right there.
So here you see the rider down.
Yeah. See the
So he
rider is
causes the
down right
flag
there.
to go up,
Yeah. The rider
and
is down.
then but there's the yellow flag there,
Yep.
and
So that,
so at the same time everyone's coming and they're battling, but so they don't see the flag essentially.
well, we can't say that they don't see or they see.
They just keep going.
Yeah, but um, like I said, if you're a professional racer, you gotta have eyes everywhere and pay attention.
Yeah.
So the inspector and all those corner workers, they already post that yellow flag. So no matter what it is, it's posted right there. So as a rider, you are supposed to pay attention to it. But since they're all in the pack trying to fight for the podium in the last lap, so a lot of them just like, hey, if I slow down, he's gonna pass me. If he slow down, I'm gonna pass him. So I guess a lot of the riders didn't pay attention to that, so they just go. But it's good thing that Aden would see that flags, and then Aden would have slowed down. But when Aden slowed down, then that puts him way behind them already, because he just like a car. I mean, you're full, gas on the pedal, but then when you um, see a flashing yellow light, so you let go your gas already, so your car is already slowing down. But then those that are not slowing down and wasn't paying attention to the yellow signal light, they will just speed up. But then if you speed up, and just like the video there, you speed up, and then now even though you take podium or you crash, and I mean, I feel very bad for those three that crashed, because eventually they crashed for nothing. Yeah, because if they didn't crash, they would get pulled back on their uh, podium anyway. Yeah, because they didn't follow the rules. They wasn't paying attention to the yellow flag, so they just kept on pushing it, and then now they crash, and then they crash, they're out. They're just automatically out. But if they don't crash, they will get the dock point, and they will be put back in the back. So I felt very bad for those riders that push so hard and have to crash out. But it happens for a reason for Aden, because Aden is right there. So if Aden didn't slow down and let go of the gas, and if he would have followed them as fast as what it is, then I think he's the one that's gonna ran over all three of the riders that crashed. And by looking at the video back and forth and studying the video, it Aiden has a very good luck on his side during that race, because if he would have encountered that crash, he's the one that's gonna be crushing into three of the riders, because he is right behind them. So good thing that he let go the throttle and just let the bike roll. So that's why those three crash, and they just crash for nothing. And those like Kayla and the other two riders that finished first, second, and third. Now they finished first, second, and third, but now they didn't follow the rules by paying attention to the yellow flag. So now MotoAmerica, all of the inspectors, they have to pull them back and not letting them take the podium. So Aiden's in fifth. So now all of them has to be bumped two spot back. So Aiden's in fifth, and Aden is following the rule. So that's why they put Aden in second place.
Interesting. So there, like, kind of what we mentioned, there's a lot of things that you don't control in this sport. Your clutch breaks, but then sometimes someone in front of you falls and you fall. And so is it, I kind of mentioned to Aden earlier, Lo, but basically in theory, the guy in the front, who was Max at the time, when he sees the yellow, and the reason why Max is not penalized, because he's number one, so he can't pass anyone, right?
Right.
So technically he could just take his time,
right?
And anyone that passes him gets in trouble. Is that fair?
Right. Yeah. Correct. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. So interesting. So in that case, let's say everyone does race correctly, and they don't try to pass at the end there, then they just pass. Does that mean that in the order that they are, when the flag occurs, and they just finish and that's the end of it, or do they add more race time or more lap or anything?
No, the rule for racing is you have to pass. You can't pass during a yellow flag, like in this situation. But if you are going to pass, you have to pass the corner where the incident happened. So the incident happened in turn 10A. Turn 10B, they could pass, after they passed that incident. But since all of them passed in turn 10A, they all got
penalized. Yeah.
So there's only like a small window to be penalized, and a lot of them got penalized.
Yeah, because it's just like football. Their video here, they will capture every movement. Just like in football, they will come back and rewind and look at how the riders let go the gas, or the rider just like fully ignore the situation, the flag. So that's why. But Kayla and those threes that finished in first, there, just for an example, even though if they there's no yellow flag, I don't think that maybe they will get first place. Even Kayla, even though she's good, I don't think that she will get first place as well because that's their strategy. She might be first, uh, coming to the last corner there, but that's how their racing strategy is. Nobody wants to be up there first because they call it drafting. So you rather be like the third and the fourth position behind the first riders because that's called drafting because they block all of the wind by hitting you. So then you'll just stick right there, and then you know that it's like, okay, I have like 30 feet before the finish line. So now the riders, a smart rider will move out, and then there goes. That riders behind will get more speed out of the finishing line because all of those riders in front of that rider has blocked all of the wind, so his bike could perform very well without the wind hitting the rider. So then if he just moved out and then he just uh, push ahead, then that means he will win you because he has more potential. That's why a lot of the riders, when they're coming to like the final lap, nobody wants to be first. You want to be first out there if you have a big gap, like you're way ahead, and then they can't catch you, and you have a big gap. Then yes, keep on going. There's no drafting there no more, so that's safe for you to be first. But in this case right here, everybody's so close. So they're playing the game, the drafting game that, hey, you go, you go first, you go first. And
So
then, yeah, and then those people behind you will get the potential to beat you.
So no one gets to answer this question really except for Max, because the at this turn this is 10A, and the person in front at 10A is Max, but it seems like right at that corner, Kayla drafts right, and
Right,
she passes four people, and that's
right,
when Kayla goes in the front. Do you
right.
would you say that when number one, I'm assuming that Max saw the flag, maybe, or maybe he didn't see the flag. But
Yeah,
is it safe to assume that Max basically said, "Okay, I'm not doing anything"? Do you think that? Well, I guess only Max can answer this, but would you say that basically she was only able to pass because Max wasn't racing at that point?
It's pretty controversial because I've talked to a lot of the riders, after the race, and it's hard to say because for how fast they're riding and for how hard they're battling each other for the final lap and
Mm-hmm.
for the very last corners of the race. I heard some riders say yes they saw it, and some riders say no they didn't see it. And in the position of the yellow flag there in the background, it's on the right side of the track. And
Mm-hmm.
us riders, we're always looking through the track. We're always, looking forward. We're not looking on the outside of the track.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say. And a lot of them, yes, Kayla, I rode with her. I've known her for a very long time. She is a very fast rider, and like you mentioned earlier, she's really good on the brakes as well. She passed 4 or 5 riders going into one corner, on the brakes. But you could also say from another person's perspective is, oh, maybe she passed 3, 4 riders because they all saw the yellow flag, and yellow flag means no passing. So there's you could look at it a million different ways, and that's also why there's so much controversy with this race as well.
And then so what ultimately happens is, and we kind of discussed this a little bit in advance. I hope I had it right. The reason I watched this video clip like 100 times because I don't know any of the rules. And the only thing I knew low was from reading people's opinions. And so um, um, there's the pack is 7. Aden is behind the pack a little bit, and they get to 10A. At 10A, Kayla sweeps through, passes 4. How she passes, that's controversial. That's what Aiden was talking about. and then the four of them get through, but the last three fall. The only one that's not penalized is Max because he's in the front. The other three are put back, and then Aden comes in, and because Aden doesn't pass anyone, Aden automatically becomes second. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
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 So like that was great. That was great what you just said. Max, since he was the one leading into the last corner, the corner with the yellow flag, they can't penalize him because since he's up front, who is he, who is he passing?
Yeah.
Since the top three riders was penalized, the three riders that stood on the podium before the results were final, Kayla, of course, she finished first. Gus Rodeo on the red bike, he finished second. Cody Wyman on the green bike, he finished third. Since those three riders were penalized, they were penalized because they were behind Max and they all passed Max going into, turn 10A where the yellow flag is. That's why all three of them got penalized. And once after MotoAmerica looked through all the footage and made a final decision, that is why I was bumped up to second spot, because MotoAmerica rule is if you pass on a yellow flag, like how these individuals did, you get automatically bumped 2 positions down from where you finished. So, for example, Kayla, since she finished first, once the results were final, she was bumped down to third spot. Since Gus Rodeo was, since he finished second before the results were final, he got bumped down to fourth spot. Cody Wyman, he finished third. He got bumped down to fifth spot. So that is how Max Van, that is how he stood on the first step, because he was not penalized for anything. Kayla, since she was penalized for passing on a yellow flag, she got bumped down to third. And since I was never penalized for passing on a yellow flag, I got bumped to second, since the two other riders, Gus Rodeo and Cody Wyman, they got bumped down 2 spots as well while I moved up. So it's very tricky to understand all that from a non-racer's perspective. And like I said, there's a lot of controversy behind this race, and a lot of people have different opinions on it. But the way I see it is, races, when it comes down to racing, yes, everyone is fighting their very hardest to stand on the top steps. But when it comes to racing, there are rules, and the rules are there to keep us all safe as well.
Yeah.
So,
well, you win some and you lose some, and then there's some that you don't control because let's for teaching purposes. Do you guys mind if we take a second to look at the flags?
Yeah.
So let's take a look at them because again, I don't know anything about racing, but I actually really love. I've learned so much in the last 2 months, and it's really fun to learn. So I just wanted to walk through with you guys because MotoAmerica makes available the flags and what they mean and the rules, but I wanted to get your insider perspective too on exactly what they mean. So we'll walk through it. So of course the green flag here, start of the race or clear track conditions, end of no overtaking zone after yellow. Green lights are also used. So basically, if there's a flag and then you see a green light, Aiden, that means race as you would like, right?
Yeah. So like how I mentioned earlier, where the yellow flag stands for no passing because there was a rider down or incident, or there could be fluids on the track or whatever. So that's why they have that yellow flag there. So yellow flag means no passing. You could pass other riders once you have passed the yellow flag, the next corner after the yellow flag. So turn 10B or, turn 11, turn 12, you could pass other riders, just not in turn 10A where the yellow flag is being presented.
So I guess my question is this. So basically, yellow flag does not appear anywhere except for where the crash occurred.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So yeah. So everyone has to look for that flag because that's basically you're going to be really, really badly penalized if you pass on a yellow, for
Right.
say.
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, it's not something that people don't know essentially.
Right. So it's like,
Okay.
yeah, green flag mean, you could go as fast as you can. I mean, the track list is clear. Everything is clear on the track. That's
So
what.
then there's checkered. That's the end of the race.
You're right. Yeah.
White means final lap.
Yep.
And this is the controversial one, and maybe you could explain a little bit. So stationary. Can you explain the difference? So yellow means okay, something's going on, don't pass. But can you tell us specifically the difference between a stationary and a waving? So this one was a stationary, correct?
Yeah.
Can you tell us the difference between stationary and a waving yellow?
Usually MotoAmerica, they will. So since when we watched the video, we saw a rider down, and we saw the corner worker with the rider as well. But they were not on the track; they were off the track, on the gravel. But MotoAmerica corner workers, they threw the yellow flag just to let the riders know ahead of time that, hey, you guys are approaching to a corner where an incident has happened, right? The waving yellow is sometimes used differently, at different organizations. And I'll get more to that in a second. The waving yellow is sometimes used when there's an actual bike on the track, on the track, or there's a rider down that's laying in the middle of the track, and that's usually what the waving yellow flag is used for. But the stationary yellow flag, like in the video we saw, it could be used for like a rider down that's not on a track, that's off track, and they're just letting the riders know ahead of time. But usually they use the waving yellow flag for incidents where there could be riders down on the track or motorcycles down on the track. But back to what I was talking about, me as a rider, I don't just race with MotoAmerica. I race with different organizations, like how you came out to AFM with me at Bunt Willow. I race a lot of local organizations as well, like CVMA at Chuckwalla, Wera, CRA. I also raced overseas with Thailand, and every organization, they will have different rules on when it comes down to flags. I've raced with organizations where you could pass on a stationary yellow and a waving yellow, and I have raced with organizations where when they throw a red flag up, you stop on track and you don't exit the track. Every race organization you go to is going to have different rules. And to the riders' defense, it's not just me that races with other organizations as well. The riders that passed on that stationary yellow in the video, they might have forgotten because they've raced with other organizations as well, so they may have forgotten. But as a racer and as a rider, you should know the rules and the regulations for that organization that you're racing with.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pop up that map, Aden. So again, that flag happens right here at 10A.
Yep.
Can you guys see that? Okay.
Yep.
So I blew up 10A, and then so basically what you're saying is there's a flag right here that we saw that passed 10A. This is when Kayla makes that pass.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And then they pass. So you're saying at 10B they can now pass.
Yes, because they have passed where the incident has happened. Right there at turn 10A, the little gravel pit where it's slightly brown. That is where the rider went down. If you look at the video, the rider was in that gravel pit with the corner worker. That's why there was a stationary yellow flag, because the track was still clear. If the rider and the motorcycle was down on the actual racetrack, then there would be a waving yellow flag. So that's kind of the two differences of the waving yellow flag and the stationary yellow flag. But for MotoAmerica rules, there's no passing regardless, stationary or waving.
So I guess my question is, so up here, infield right here. So this is a ramp, right?
It's not really a ramp. It's more downhill.
Okay, because I guess so. Overall, this all here is like a big downhill. That's what we don't see on this map, right? So this is all downhill.
Yep.
Coming this way. So I guess so on this downhill, how far in advance can you see that yellow flag?
From all the way from turn 9.
So this is on this map, turn 9 doesn't look like a big turn, but it does look like a bigger turn on that video. But from turn 9, once you pass that turn 9, then you can definitely see turn 10A already.
Yeah, you can see the flag there already.
Yeah. So it's, I guess the controversy is, how far in advance was it put down? And so interesting, very interesting.
By us looking at that video and all of this controversy with the complaints with MotoAmerica and all of the riders is, they are so close by. They are so close, and there's a flag there, but then some of them might see it, some of them don't. But then they just kept on going. They kept on going, and then they finished the race. But what become controversy in this race is actually when those 3 that finished the race, they put them on the podium already. They put them on the podium already, and then people is cheering for those 3 riders already. But then they already have all of their happy tears. They already have all the happy tears, and especially like Kayla. I mean, she's such a lovely lady, and then I mean, it's gonna be first time in history that in MotoAmerica that a lady that eventually took podium first place. So she has all of this, happy tears already, and they staging her bikes there on the podium already, as the first place. But then now, all of the interviewers and cameras and everything is focusing on her for the spotlight. But then now suddenly the MotoAmerica in the podium box, they realize that, hey, this is not right, so hold on, do not do any interview, do not do anything anymore, because we have to review this video, just like in football, just like in football. If they throw yellow flags right there already, and then you kept rushing them, which the referee threw the yellow flag, and you kept rushing them, then now the referees, they're gonna penalize the other team. Said, hey, 5-yard back. They don't follow that yellow flag, the rule. So now motorcycle is the same way. So, but eventually that was a very close race. But that race, anybody could still take the podium because some of them are behind, like Aden, they're behind, but they're playing the drafting techniques. So they don't want to be first. They want to be staying behind, and then they will shoot at the last moment there to finish the finish line, to touch the finish line. So it could still be anybody's call. But then what the controversy is back to what I was saying was they already, cheering for her, and she already have all this, happy tears and everything. But then when that person's already have all this happy tears, and then you trying to pull them out from the stage, then that's kind of like insulting them.
And I think that's it's a very unfortunate circumstance. But from like a from a person looking on from the outside, I think that's a part of that is because MotoAmerica is such a fine-tuned machine that usually, I guess, I'm assuming the protocol is after a race and they put the bikes up right away because they race according to time, so they have to do it relatively quickly.
Right.
And then they didn't have a chance to review it, and when they reviewed it, but I do think that they made the right decision though, because it would have been wrong to ignore the rules of the yellow flag too. I think that would be actually worse off than
Right.
to just keep those three up there, because then, well, now they've clearly broken the rule, and there's nothing that can fix that.
Yeah, a lot of people would think that, you know, oh, just let them take the podium. Even Aiden got fifth place. We accept that. We go, yeah, that's the call. We accept that because all of those riders at the end of the day, I mean, they're all friends. We're all families. We're
Yeah,
all families, and we know each other very well. I mean, we eat together. They hang out together. They help one another. So
yeah.
we're just like family. But when it comes to rule is rule, and just like you said, if Moto America would have let this pass by, then the next round, then even though there's another yellow flag,
Oh, the people would be
everybody's gonna,
disregarding the
yeah,
yellow.
regard, and then now everybody's gonna come back and say, hey, look, during that first race, you guys didn't call it, so that's why are you guys calling now? So um the rules is rules, so they won't let nobody break the rules. So the decision is them, and I mean they're professional uh, world organization, so they have to make the call, and they did the right thing. So they did the right things, and like I said, those that crashed, hopefully they recover well, and we will see them in the second race in Virginia in 3 weeks. And those that got, dropped back down and didn't win the podium, they should at least, have the heart to follow the rules and said, hey, it's okay, uh, that incident happened, but next time I will trying to pay more attention to it, and I
Yeah,
will do my best in the next round. So like I was telling Aiden, no matter what it is, bad or good at the track, because the world is watching, because they televise this live throughout the world, and a lot of the sponsors, they will look at the riders, even though the riders lose, and if they have a bad attitude, they start kicking fences or throwing away their helmet or taking their glove and acting weird. Then that's when the sponsors gonna go, oh, there he goes. I mean, that's how his attitude is. We can't have him representing our company because he's not a humble rider. I mean, if
yeah,
he get mad, he'll just kick the fence. He'll just throw his helmet away. He'll throw his glove away. And I mean, even those interview people were trying to interview them, and they just walk away, and that's a very bad attitude to have as a professional writers. And there's a lot of writers, which we know that they are like the best writers. I mean, best writers in Moto America, and they don't have no sponsorship. It's because they could be the best writer, but it's their attitude. Là
yeah,
do ít tụi nâng và đúng mùa thì mong hại nè, Là chỉ ít tụi nâng humble. Win or lose, you lose, you learn from it, you come back stronger. That's what they expect the riders to have. But
yeah,
if you lose and you start having a bad attitude, now all the sponsors gonna let you go. So those best riders, they are super good, but they have no sponsor whatsoever because of their attitude. So win or lose, you learn from it, and you just put the big smiles on your face, and congratulate those that win you. Even though you win, you go and congratulate those that are that lost to you. So that's
yeah,
how sportsmanship is, and that's what a lot of the sponsors are out there just looking. And for instance, even though I'm Aiden's dad, I'm talking uh, and using Aden as an example here, because just like Aden, I mean, he's not the best rider out there, but he's the first Hmong riders in the professional motorcycle racing in the world.
yeah,
And he has so much fan, he has so much people that supported him. So even though he's not the best rider, it's because of who he is. and he's gifted because he's the first Hmong American kid to be in the professional industry. So he has so much spotlight. Even as you can see, like we've been posting some of the even during the qualifying, all of those they focus on him a lot because he's a unique person. He's very unique, and a lot of the sponsors like to sponsor him because he get a lot of exposure because it's who he is. He's not the best fastest rider, but it's who he is. So that's what the sponsor likes. The sponsors likes the person, the riders that are humble. Even though you're not the fastest, you are humble, you're nice, and you're very helpful in the pit. They see how your attitude is, and that's what the sponsor likes more than the guys that kept winning but has a bad attitude.
Yeah, and I'll speak to that because Aden, I'll be honest, when I first saw your picture, I was like, okay, he's a Hmong rider. But when you actually meet Aden in person, and I encourage anyone that's watching who hasn't met Aden, strike a conversation with Aden, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. When you meet Aden, Aden is so humble. He's one of the best riders. He's riding internationally, but number one, Aden is so humble, and he's for someone who's 18. Low, you and me, we know when we were 18, we were not that wise. We did not talk like that.
Well, he learning from us.
Yeah, but like when I was that age, I was not that humble. Aiden comes out as someone at least probably in the 30s, I would say. Chắc không mà người cho lý tu nên tu thế bóc ta ở mong hài này. And so Aiden is such a you watch the way Aiden loses, and you watch the way Aiden wins, and it's not that much different. And that's a very important trait and skill to have, that you win some and you lose some, and it's still relatively the same to him. He learns from both cases. And Aiden, it's a pleasure interviewing you. It's a pleasure seeing it's a true privilege for me, because number one, I really don't know anything about racing, and everything I've learned from racing, I've learned from you and your dad Lo. And you guys are very open to sharing and teaching about it. Even tonight, I think they probably could learn so much about the art of racing. I call it an art. It is an art. But the thing about Aiden is that it's not an art that everyone could master. Kind of like what Aiden's doing now. He doesn't have full mastery yet, but by the time he masters it, I mean, people will not even, like mong hai lo the Aiden, you name la you. Look, you will give birth to thousands of people, and còn chỉ có tôi ít so Aiden wa ni có your la you hang on. And
that's
it,
true.
it really is. I think Aiden, you have a gift from God, most Aiden, the way, I mean, if you were right there drafting behind as number 8, you would have ran over probably that guy's head.
Yeah.
And it was a blessing that didn't occur. And sometimes you win some and you lose some. And the first race you lost some, and then the second race you won some. And I wish you the best. Virginia now is going to be very exciting. Probably Kayla and the 3 of them are now Lugukushia, and then they really want to go as necessary. And I think you guys are very. I think you're ready to go too, and it'll be really interesting in Virginia. And I hope that Hmong people come and watch you in Minnesota and also Wisconsin. But those who can't, they can actually, Lo. We were saying that. It was featured on Fox Sports, the show, but it was a little out of control because we didn't really know. As a viewer, I didn't know. So I think the best way actually to do it is if you have the means to do it, then you can actually subscribe to MotoAmerica's live streaming site, where you can watch pretty much all the site, right? All the races,
all of the race, even
that's probably the best way to watch.
Yeah. Actually, just like I was telling Aiden, I wish that MotoAmerica, they would have televised live, for free, just like how international, like Aden going race internationally, like
So
in
like Thailand.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
they broadcast that live, but it's international. That's why, and it's free,
Mm.
and they could afford to do that because all of the factory teams are over there. So I think that they have so much money to be able to afford to just broadcast live throughout the world. And as you can see, when they race in Thailand, there's like 35 million people views.
Mm.
Yeah, because it's live all over the world, and everybody gets a free opportunity to look at it. But like in Moto America here, you could watch live on Facebook, but only certain race that they will broadcast for free. But
Yeah.
then a lot of the other very excitement um, races they won't televise for free, so you have to subscribe to that. So
Mm.
that's how they make their money too, and I do understand that. But in Moto America, uh, the biggest uh, group that they focus on is the
Yeah.
superbike and the junior cup.
Mm.
Because why they focus a lot on the junior cup and promote a lot of the junior cup, because the junior cup, they know that once when they finish the junior cup, when they're over the age of 28 years old, they're gonna be going into the next bracket, and then they're gonna stay in there in Moto America for a long time. So it
Mm.
gives them the opportunity to make a lot of money out of that racer already.
Mm.
And then with the superbike, they're like they're like Superman. Their
Yeah.
bike is like 200 miles per hour. So people like to see the speed and all of those. But when it comes to being a riders, it doesn't mean you have to fast bike and you're fast.
Mm.
A lot of time you will see riders like Aden, they're riding the 400, but they could beat those guys on the 1000 cc bike,
Mm.
no problem. So a lot of the riders out there, they thinks that um, the more powerful your bike is, the
Mm-hmm.
faster you're gonna get. But that is the opposite way in the racing world. If you
Yeah.
ride the most powerful bike on the track and you don't have the skill, that's gonna make you the slowest rider on the track. So it just depends on the skills and how you handle the bike.
So, hey, Aiden. So, what would you say is the typical protocol or progression? How do you go from 400 to like a super bike, or do you find that some people will jump from 400 to super bike, or they go 600 and whatnot, or is there like a typical pattern of that occurring?
It really depends on when it comes to racing. It really depends on age. It really depends on where you're racing and where do you want to be in the next 5, 10, 15 years from now.
Mm.
For riders like for me, for an example, we're racing the MotoAmerica Junior Cup on 400cc bikes. I've been on the 400 for 3 years now, and next year we will progress to the 600 or even the 1000.
Mm.
There's no rule that says I can't jump on the 1000 superbike and compete with the superbike riders. There's no rule that says I can't do that. Will it be the smartest decision? No, because we don't have that kind of budget to build a superbike. We don't have that kind of sponsor, and we don't have that kind of skill to
Yeah.
compete in the superbike. Um, a lot of riders when they start very young, they start racing 4, 5, 6 years old. They might not even do Moto America or even ride the 400. They might go straight to Spain and start competing in the mini cups, and then they move on to, for example, the Red Bull Rookie Cups, which is out in Spain, which is I believe ages 16 and under, and those guys are already professional riders before they even hit 16, and they're racing for their name, they're racing for money, and they're racing, to be in MotoGP one day. That's the road to MotoGP. It really depends on age, where you're racing, and where you want to be. Since I started racing a little late compared to the other riders that I ride with, all the riders that I rode with, at Atlanta, they've been racing since they were 5, 6 years old. They've been on a bike for that long. I started riding and racing when I was 15. So for me, that's considered late compared to everyone else.
Yeah.
So we're taking a different path from someone that started racing when they were 5, 6 and progressed all the way till they were my age, 18 years old. A lot of the MotoGP riders that you see, like Marquez, Valentino Rossi, by the time they were 17, 18 years old, my age, they were already signed to factory teams in MotoGP, making
Yeah.
10, 15, $20 million a year.
Mm.
But that progression that they made was so fast. That's how they got there that quickly.
So I think you're gonna, for at least Hmong people, even already what you're doing, you're gonna number one open a lot of doors for Hmong people. Whether Hmong people walk through the door is another issue, but you're gonna definitely break a lot of barriers, and you're gonna go. My prediction is that you're gonna go very far. I don't know how far you are, and you're saying there is a certain disadvantage to your late start, but then you're basically saying if you in the future if you had a kid, he'd probably be badass.
Yeah, yeah.
Fair to say.
For the time we've been racing, which is going on to 4 years now, I
Hmm.
feel like we progressed a lot because a
Yeah.
lot of the riders, like I mentioned before, a lot of the riders that you saw in that clip, a lot of them they have experience racing overseas, like I do. They have
Yeah.
experience racing in Spain with top level riders, and they've been racing since 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. When they could barely walk, they could barely talk. They were already thrown on a motorcycle. They were introduced to motorcycle racing at that age. Whether if it's their parents that have raced in the past, they're probably professional racers. And
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully one day, whenever I have a child of mine, and when he's 4, 5, 6 years old, he's going to be introduced, or she, they're going to be introduced to motorcycle racing, and hopefully by the time they're my age, 18 years old, they're racing in MotoGP, the highest level of racing in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before we conclude this show, um, just to let all of the fans and all of the community, everybody knows that uh, being Aiden's dad, I appreciate a lot of the fan and a lot of the community all around the world that are reaching out to us and helping Aiden and supporting Aiden. So, on behalf of Aiden's dad, I want to thank each and every one of those people out there and the fans that are supporting Aiden's and the team as well. And our goal, and we will share this with you, whoever is watching us and your show here. Um, our biggest goal is next year. Um, if Aiden does very well of what he's doing every day here, he will be racing uh, overseas
Hmm.
next year, and we might skip MotoAmerica
Mm.
because MotoAmerica it's just the highest level here in the United States. Which other countries that comes and race here in MotoAmerica? But our intention is to have Aiden do internationally, FIM internationally, and then after that, 2013, 2023, Aiden will do international, and then 2024, we're planning to happen on the World Superbike.
Mm.
Then after the World Superbike, uh, we trying to contender Aiden's for at least a wild card to do MotoGP, and
Very good.
then I'm pretty sure he will get to MotoGP. Maybe not the full time riders, but
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure that they will give him the wild cards to MotoGP to just be a riders in MotoGP.
Mm.
So that's
Wow. Whew, that's some big. You know, you have to have big vision. You know, you and
right.
so I think you guys are a great team. Aiden's very talented, but Aiden, your dad Lo has a very beautiful vision, and I I wish you guys the best because from here on out, you only open the doors in the sense that if you don't open the doors for others, you're gonna open Aiden. You're gonna open the doors for your own son. It's just like Hmong people and medicine. I'll tell you, when Hmong people first came here, no one knew how to become a doctor or PA from a perspective. And now that I'm a PA, I when I see a Hmong person that has the potential and has the strong desire to become a PA,
Yep.
because you
Right.
can guide them. I can tell you if you just do what I say, I can almost guarantee you that you'll become at least a PA. And
Yep.
that's because I've already done it and I know what it takes and I think you have what it takes. And the only way you fail now is you give up.
Right.
And so, I wish you the best. I think you're going to go very far. It's an interesting time because Hmong people, we tend to support when the person's big, but we're always very hesitant to support when the person's coming up. And I think with Aiden, that's where he's at. Aiden, you're pretty much there, and I think what you born, then woe to them. But I think I consider these live sessions very much a privilege. I cherish them because well, they'll be recorded, and maybe Aiden, I don't know, 10 years from now, I'll look at this footage. I'll say, I remember when Aiden was just doing AFM and Moto America before he was MotoGP, and it's a true privilege to talk to someone before they get big. And I know Aiden's going to get really big, and he's very humble, so I think he'll handle it very well. But again, it's a true privilege to just sit here and chat with you guys. I'll tell you, you tell what Kayla Yakov will not give me an interview. She
Hmm.
will not walk me through the track of Atlanta. She will not walk me through what she saw. Her team will not walk me through what happened. But because Bayong Hmong, like I keep on stressing that Bayong Hmong, yeah, we live in the same town, and but sometimes we take for granted that Bayong Hmong, we kind of downplay each other a little bit. Oh, Hmong so Hmong but no, Aiden's proving it. Sunisa Lee's proving it. You draw shit or you regardless of whether they make it or not, it's okay. Support don't TJ. Make it, they make it. They don't make it, they don't make it. Still be happy. That door is a part of opening the door, and
Right.
that's the most important thing. And so I applaud you guys. Now I'm like, wow, my mind's blown. A lot after you said that, I was like, wow, the game plan is set. I hope it goes exactly like that or faster. But if it doesn't go that faster, it's okay. You know, you guys are amazing. Absolutely.
Yep. Only Aiden's destiny could determine. Yeah, we can't really control. We could have all of the planning, everything for whosoever, but it's your destiny, because I mean this is a professional career that they are encountering in their life, so it's their destiny that's gonna take them there. So even being Aiden's dad, I totally supported him as my son, and I would do whatever I can to support him. Um, and even though I have to, do the extra days of work or go the extra limit to trying to support him in budget wise and political wise or connection wise, I would do that. I would do that for Aiden, and not just Aiden, but for any other writers out there. Uh, that they has the vision to do it. I'm more than happy to help. I'm more than happy to give them advice and uh, give them guidance.
So going forward, number one, the soonest thing coming up for Aden is May 6th. He's got a fundraiser in Fresno at Riven Hall.
Rivendell Hall.
And basically, from my understanding, it's being basically hosted by Rise, the wonderful organization. They do a lot to help the community, and they know Aden well. And so my understanding is that that fundraiser is already paid for, like through sponsorship. Someone has basically bought off everything already, and anyone that wants to come can just come now. It's
Right.
and whoever has the heart to donate, they can further donate to move Aden forward. Um, so that's Friday, May 6th. I think all you have to do is go to Rise's site and sign up, and you can pretty much go. I'll be there to film. There'll be artists singing and whatnot, and Aden will be there. And then the next race is going to be obviously Virginia, which I think is going to be a super fire race because a lot of people are really hungry after this last race. The track there, Aden, how different is it from Atlanta?
It's a very different track.
Mm.
Virginia is a lot more tighter and technical track, so it's nothing very like Atlanta, right? Atlanta has a lot of technical turns, but a very long straightaway. Virginia doesn't have as much elevation change as Atlanta, so we're not constantly going up and down as much.
So you're less likely to blow your clutch.
Yeah, yeah, and there's no long straightaways like Atlanta. Like in the video we watched, there's no hard braking zones like Atlanta where you're coming 120, 30 miles per hour, slowing your bike down to 20, 30 miles an hour in 3-4 seconds. Virginia is definitely a different track, and that's what makes us riders so good, is because we have experience riding at different tracks like that. And in my overall opinion, Virginia is not one of my favorite tracks at all. I've ridden at Virginia. It's not my cup of tea, you would say. It's the pavement is not the best there. I don't know. Every rider has their own personal preference. Atlanta was definitely one of my most favorite that MotoAmerica travels to. Virginia is not so much, but as riders, we all got to go through it, like it or not, and we still got to go out there and compete and show up as well. So.
Yeah, and I'm getting the gist that everything's strategic because it's not just an issue of winning. I mean, ideally it is to win, but it's a point game now.
Yeah.
Because ultimately you're looking to become. I guess the title is it world champion or champion.
Champion. Yeah.
The champion. Yeah, and you can become the champion without necessarily winning everything.
Yeah.
As long as because the risk of being the fastest rider is you're probably the most likely to fall too.
Right.
And so it's really interesting and exciting.
Yeah, for like you said, the points plays a lot of part. I mean, if you could be winning on Saturday and then Sunday, the second race, you could just crash out and then you get no points. That's why a lot of people they didn't show on that video were those three that crashed, but eventually one of the riders he crashed. He was involved in that three crash, and he could still get up, and he just pushed his bike to the finish line. And
for the points.
Yeah, just for the point. Even though just for 2 points, he just have to just like get up and then just ignore the pain and just push his bike to the finish line just for that 2 points. A lot of people is gonna say, hey, you don't have to do this, but being in the professional race, you got to finish the line and just earn your points. So a lot of them, they would tend to do that, but a lot of the other riders, when they go down, they will just go, oh, forget it, I'm done, but that's how determined how that boy does. So it's really fascinating when a lot of riders they have this mentality, and they're so much connected to what they're doing. So those riders that does that, they will tend to go farther because they know the importance of being a professional riders.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure, Aden. Any last words of wisdom from you? We're excited to see you race. You've got, like you said, another 8 races, correct?
Yep.
Okay,
Big fun
very good.
race.
Well, we
Yep.
wish you the best and kill it this year in Moto America. If I get a chance to go do another live session with you, it'd be more than my pleasure. It seems like there's always something exciting happening. And if as long as people are interested in watching us, I'm more than. I think if it was just me talking to you guys and nobody watching, that'd be fine too, because there's so much to learn from you. Any last words to the viewers and the fans?
Yeah, thank you to all the fans and all of those viewers that are commenting. Um, uh, those that are local here in the Central Valley. Uh, May the 6th, which you mentioned, it's on the Friday night, but that's hosted by Rice. But um, we're very gifted that Aiden participate in the event, and they eventually hosted this as a fundraiser for event for Aiden. First, we were looking for the funds, but eventually, there's a couple of the major big business donors that they uh, bought out everything and they pays for all of the costs, everything for the event. So since we have all of the costs taken care of, everything that we're not losing no money for the hall rental or any other stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you to all those great sponsors that came into play and uh, put out the financial to host the event there. And if you guys are around, come and meet Aiden. I mean, you guys don't have to donate nothing. You guys could just come and uh, meet him and give him the world. Just a simple, wishful words, encouragement will be fine. And come out and hang out with him, and come and greet with him. And we will have a lot of artists that night. So. Uh, there's a lot of foods and drinks and plenty of great artists that's gonna be there performing that night too. So yeah, come out. It's a free event, and take all of your family, your kids to come out and meet with Aiden and just socialize with him. Okay? It's a family event, so come out.
Very nice. Aiden, any last words?
Yeah, so pretty much just a little recap from what Dad said, because but I like to thank everyone, that watched this, of course, and long, especially you, for taking your time. Um,
Oh, I love watching you race, and because the reason why I love to watch you race because I'm at my liberties to ask you afterwards exactly what's going on, and I love it because you explain it. Otherwise, I think, and the reason why Aiden, I feel compelled to go live with you because I think since I don't know anything, and I figured that most Hmong people don't know anything, then they would like the explanation.
yeah,
And so I'm grateful. If you're grateful to me, I'm probably 3 times more grateful than you for this window to have this explanation.
yeah. So thank you again for your time, for inviting me and my dad out to your show tonight. I know we've been talking pretty long here. It's almost been
Yeah,
2
we
hours.
always do. I love it.
But like my dad said, we could sit here and talk about racing all night. There's a lot of things that you haven't learned yet. We haven't even got technical with motorcycle racing. And besides all that, I would just like to thank everyone. I never really had a chance to thank everyone that came out to my fundraiser in Minnesota. The fundraiser in Minnesota came out very well. It was, we were jam packed in the hall. There was a lot of people. I got to meet a lot of new faces, a lot of new friends. So if you guys are around and you guys free on May 2nd, May 6th, come out to the hall and meet me and come say hi. You guys don't have to donate nothing. A lot of times, I really appreciate people just messaging me on my social media and just giving me a thumbs up or just giving me some words of wisdom. That goes a long ways. So just thank you, everyone, long especially you, and thank you to all my fans. And I hope to see everyone at our fundraiser here in Fresno.
And again, thank you to all those Minnesota, Wisconsin people. 3 weeks ago when Aiden was up there, they're so supportive. I mean, I could never think that, you know, all of the Hmong communities, friends and fans and family up in Minnesota is that supportive. But you know, we want to thank them, each and individual of all of those Hmong in Minnesota that has contributed. And I mean, it's a big help and contributions that they put into in you know, helping Aden. So on behalf of, you know, Aden, I'm his dad. I want to thank all of the Minnesota people that has done so much for Aden. I can't name all of them, but thank you, and thank you, Long, and we will be talking to you soon.
Okay. One last person. Chris is here. He's late, but Chris is actually from Seattle, so he says he'll see you guys in Shelton.
Yep, we will. Yes, Chris, we will see you at, you know, Washington, and that would be great at the Ridge.
Okay, very good. Okay, guys, have a great, blessed night,
Okay.
and God be with you guys. Stay safe on that track, Aden. Everyone has got your back, and know that we are all behind you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Long.
All right, thank you guys for viewing. Also, the viewers out there, support Aden. You can find him on Facebook. You can find Cali Shine, which is his sponsor on Facebook. Also, good night, Shinji Dua.
All right, Long.